Saturday, September 2nd, 2023. AGNDD Intellireport topic: Christian views on poverty and wealth. Please pardon any visual and informational inaccuracies in this entirely AI-generated Wikipedia-sourced video article.
According to historian Alan S. Cahan, Christianity has a belief that views wealthy individuals as sinful, with the day of judgment reversing the social order and blessing the poor. According to historian Alan S. Cahan, there is a belief within Christianity that views wealthy individuals as especially sinful. This perspective holds that the day of judgment will bring about a reversal of the social order, where the poor will be truly blessed. David Miller proposes that this viewpoint is akin to that of the Manichaeans in the 3rd century, who believed in the inherent conflict between the spiritual and material realms. This particular strand of Christianity urges its followers to renounce material possessions and worldly enjoyments, as demonstrated by Jesus' instruction to his disciples to travel without carrying anything. According to David Miller, Martin Luther believed that the desire for wealth or mammon was the most common idol on earth. Jesus' encounter with the rich ruler is cited as an example of how wealth can be an obstacle to faith. It is not the money itself that is the problem, but the love of money. Jesus also taught that it is difficult for the rich to enter the kingdom of God. Some Christians have taken vows of poverty to remove the desire for wealth as an obstacle to faith. Some Protestants believe that the pursuit of wealth is a religious duty influenced by Calvinist and Puritan theologies. John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, advocated for gaining wealth and giving to charity. This belief is also found in modern prosperity theology, which teaches that God promises financial blessings to those who have faith and follow his laws. Prosperity theology gained prominence in the U.S. during the healing revivals in the 1950s and has been criticized by mainstream evangelical leaders as non-scriptural or heretical. Professor Cosimo Perrotta explains that the early Christian period was characterized by the convergence and conflict of 3 major cultures: classical, Hebrew, Old Testament, and Christian. These cultures had contrasting perspectives on money and wealth. While Hebrew culture valued material wealth, classical and Christian cultures either despised it or advocated for indifference towards it. However, Perrotta emphasizes that the motivations behind these attitudes were distinct, leading to different consequences. Perrotta argues that the attitude of the Jews in the Old Testament towards work and wealth was different from the classical view. They did not scorn servile and hired work, but instead protected workers and the poor from exploitation. The goal of these commandments was to prevent excessive accumulation of wealth and protect the weak. While material wealth was valued and seen as a sign of divine favor, the Old Testament also emphasized the obligation of the rich to aid the poor and alleviate their suffering. The statement is a verse from the Bible, specifically from the book of Luke in the New Testament. It is part of the Beatitudes, a series of blessings pronounced by Jesus during the Sermon on the Mount. In this verse, Jesus is emphasizing the spiritual wealth and blessings that come to those who are humble and have a deep reliance on God, regardless of their material poverty. Jesus condemns excessive love of wealth and warns of the danger of riches as a hindrance to favor with God. He teaches that no one can serve both God and wealth. Jesus encourages his followers to sell their earthly goods and give to the poor, emphasizing the importance of storing up heavenly treasure. He also highlights God's special interest in the poor and calls for caring for them. The Gospel of Luke particularly emphasizes Jesus' compassion and ministry towards the poor. In the book of Acts, Luke emphasizes the unity of the early Christian communities and their concern for both the rich and the poor. 2 well-known passages describe the extent of fellowship and sharing of goods among the believers in Jerusalem. Acts also portrays both positive examples of generosity towards the poor and negative examples of prioritizing wealth over the needs of others. Overall, Luke presents a balanced view of wealth and its impact on the Christian community. In Paul's writings, riches primarily refer to spiritual blessings and salvation. He also mentions the importance of generosity and hospitality, while warning against pride and greed. Paul emphasizes the collection for the church in Jerusalem as a symbol of unity between Jewish and Gentile believers. The epistles of James and John denounce worldliness and condemn the oppressive rich, highlighting their sins and the impending day of judgment. The book of Revelation has a complex view of earthly riches and commercial activities. On one hand, Jesus criticizes the Laodicean church for their false sense of wealth, but also presents himself as the true source of wealth. Later, earthly riches and business activities are associated with the sins of Babylon, which is portrayed as an evil power that will soon fall. However, the book also describes the New Jerusalem as a place of lavish materialism, with gold and precious stones. Early Christianity incorporated ethical themes from the Hebrew Bible, but also introduced a focus on the needs of the disadvantaged. Jesus' teachings challenged the pursuit of wealth and emphasized the importance of helping the poor. Christian charity was seen as different from classical generosity aiming for equality. While Christianity aligned more with the Old Testament tradition regarding poverty and work, it differed from traditional Judaism in its view of wealth and the difficulty for the rich to enter heaven. The Church Fathers had differing views on private property. While they condemned it as a necessary evil resulting from the fall of man, they also recognized its practicality in everyday life. They emphasized the duty of almsgiving and the importance of using wealth for the good of the community. However, they did not advocate for the general application of Jesus' counsel to give away all possessions. Augustine believed that the accumulation of wealth was not a worthy goal for Christians, while Lactantius saw communism